key success factors. What are the things you need to be successful? First of all, when you're being an agency and you're selling your services, creative or media, even if it's media or other type of agency, the key thing how you differentiate is, of course, creative brilliance. That's what they're looking for clients the most. They want those big ideas, fresh ideas that they couldn't think of internally. If you're able to deliver that, the next thing they're looking for is executional excellence. That's becoming increasingly important as you need to move faster and you need to produce more. So the following ones are things where we, Screen Dragon, believe we can really help you achieve these key success factors. Executional excellence, the ability to have an agile organization, which I put in inverted commas Lego, the ability to be able to plug into others, plug into your client, let others plug into you. That's what's necessary nowadays, because the days of just being able to deliver on your own for that client are over. It's very much a collaborative ecosystem now. You need people that can scope really, really well, because you don't want to run risk of losing money on projects. That means producing brilliant briefs and encouraging the client to produce great briefs originally, and then making sure that those briefs travel well inside the corridors of the agency. Resourcing, how do you do resourcing? Is it rigorous? Is it ad hoc? You'll be seeing how we do it, and you can judge it for yourselves, but at least there's a process and thinking behind it. And very importantly, if you're systematizing stuff, you'll be able to measure stuff. And I think the famous quote from Peter Drucker, that strategist, is you're unable to manage what you don't measure. So the systems that we put in place will track everything to do with your workflow in order to allow you to measure it, and then you're able to manage it. And the last one is to do with internally but also externally towards your client, is that ability to create the transparency that will deliver accountability with your client, to make them accountable. And that could be around rounds of revision. Okay, take a look here. You requested these amount of rounds and it's tracked in the system here. And then transparency internally to say, actually, this went out the door. Who was it approved by? Who built up the budget? To avoid fights about who did what or when, the way a system can track that, about who was involved in actually building up a proposal, it's fantastic if you're able to systematize that. So that's the background that we're experiencing. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to take you through the life of an agency, from the front door, new business, into project managers and account managers, creating projects, managing timelines, and then getting the creative and the studio involved, and how can we keep it simple for them so they can execute at speed. Traffic and resourcing need to get involved in order to be able to manage the needs of the project managers in the studio. And then lastly, and very importantly, finance and leadership. How can they have the visibility that they need in order to take the big decisions? So that's getting to our ability to deliver big data that they're able to crunch in order to get trends and in order to predict the future so that they can hire appropriately. So I'm going to finish on where we're going to start, and that is the brief. And the brief is probably the most critical step in everything. First of all, coming in from the client, and then the internal brief. But it's actually a real weak point of many an agency, and also many an in-house agency, because the traditional brief is not very smart. So it's pretty provocative imagery, I get that here, but the point I'm trying to get across is dead on arrival. Often it's an Excel sheet or a Word document, and that just becomes a static piece of content. It doesn't live, it doesn't change as the project changes and the project goes on along the timeline. Because it's in a Word document, whatever, we can't pull it into reporting. We can't systematize it whereby there's drop downs or check boxes or different things whereby we can cut down on inconsistencies and errors. And because we've got to show everything on a Word document or Excel document, because we can't sort of contract and expand stuff, it takes longer to read, it can be more repetitive, and it costs just more time to develop. So we've spent a lot of time trying to change that, to create a brief that is, see it like a concierge, that it should be able to guide you through the process by knowing, based on what you're filling in, who shall I involve in this project? We've done this project before, therefore, can it recommend a timeline? This project involves a claim, for example, on a package, help me be compliant. Therefore, can you inform regulatory to put extra eyes on this, or somebody from the legal department? And also, if I'm filling in what effort levels I need based on this brief, can you already start telling me what are the estimated costs that would be involved? So you can imagine, if you were able to do all those things, imagine how much time it would save in terms of administration from a project manager, account manager, but also in terms of creatives being able to read it or be pulled into the process at the right time, rather than when it's unnecessary and they don't need to come in that early in the process. So that's the backdrop. Hopefully what we're going to show you now will give you some insights in how you can bring that to life and how you can really achieve return on investment and new effectiveness in the way you do things inside your agency. So Sean, I'm going to hand over to you. With that, I'm going to be manning the, let's say, the questions technology here. So if you got any questions as Sean is going through the demo, please pop them in, and we'll stop at certain points in the demo and we'll call them out, and Sean can focus in on a number of them. Thanks, Sean, over to you.
Thanks, Fergus. Yeah, so I think really just picking up from where we finished there, and really moving into the brief and around the, I suppose, the overall intelligence that we're going to bring in behind those. So as you log into any screen, what you're looking at right now is just a dashboard, and this is showing you general resourcing and tasks, and you'll start to piece some of that together as we move through this day in the life of an agency. But where I'm moving to here on top navigation is opportunities, and I suppose focusing initially here on the new business side of things. What you're looking at on the screen is really that dashboard of what's in the pipeline, what opportunities have we got at the moment within our agency. And you're looking here along things such as, title, what customer is it with, the status of this. So that can be your pipeline status, it can be your percentage confidence within here as well. So marking that, and that can come with, even with wording along as well. Again, estimate total. So Fergus mentioned there around your briefs, being able to look at, well, how big is this opportunity in terms of dollars? Who's our leads on these? And we're pretty lopsided here with Fergus bringing in all these engagement leads. And your current status, where are these opportunities at the moment? So have they just come in the door? Are we quite far along in terms of process? So is it being reviewed by finance, by heads of department? Is it with back to the client for review? Have we made a formal proposal? And general summaries as well. What you see on this screen is it's completely configurable in terms of whatever information you're picking up from those briefs, we can display here. So giving you that very top level information, quite a nice smart view around what opportunities you guys have got in the pipeline. If I want to create a new opportunity, so going back to every day, I've met a client or prospective client yesterday, and I want to go and actually put some information in around this and capture it. So again, I'm looking at new opportunity here. And once I create that, that's going to launch this briefing form for me. within its form, looking to capture some key information. So straight off the bat, I'm just looking at a, so what I'm going to call this actually is webinar opportunity, and it's pulling through my name automatically within here. And again, in terms of who I'm dealing with, is this a new customer or is it an existing one? If I'm clicking on new, well then this is going to be the name of the new client within here, who's my contact within there. So again, I can pick that up from here, and an email address to go in here. So just capturing some very top level information around this. This, very handy for going forward in terms of, if I have started this opportunity, I suddenly go on annual leave for 2 weeks, someone can come in, pick up the key information around this and continue on with it. A very simple form from here. So we're just looking at things like what type of project is it. When I say this is a branding, I'm looking at my project numbers, maybe at a later date coming in here, or opportunity numbers coming in here. What kind of rate card would we charge this at? It could be standard, and then what status. I'm thinking this is, a 50% opportunity right now, and again, any notes around this. So met the client yesterday, good initial meeting, and that's it. So it's really just filling this out. Maybe some details around my scope, who's going to be the agency lead within there, and from finance side of things, who's going to pick this up as well as we move through. So whatever details I have. Coming back to Ferguson's point around making sure that we're getting accurate briefs coming through as well. Fields within here can be made mandatory or not. So if you're saying, look, if you're going to put an opportunity in here, there's certain basic information we need, then fine, we can make it mandatory. They'd have to do it in terms of submitting it, but really at this early stage, it tends to be quite easy going, and as you move forward in a process, we'd ask for more and more information. So again, I'm going to submit this as my new opportunity. And what that would do, and I think from what I see, every day within agencies, this is going to go and sit with a new business team. So that has submitted the form on its process. And if I open this up, you can see how this looks and feels. So on the left hand side, the information that I've captured around this. On the right hand side, you're seeing the status of where we are right now. And as we move through this, you'll see that updating with comments I'm making and different statuses in terms of how far we've progressed in the process. From here, a new business team, really this is starting to get worked on. We're chatting to the client, and at some point I may feel this is going really well, and I want to update this opportunity. And again, I can open my form up. I've got my key details that I entered earlier, but now I'm thinking, you know what, I think this is going to go ahead. We're putting this to 90% in terms of what I reckon this is going to go. And from here, you can now see we've got more fields, more options, and again, these can be made mandatory. So first of all, we're looking at the briefing details. What are we trying to achieve here? What do we want them to think, feel? Key success criteria, mandatories within here. Is there a license agreement? If there is, attach it in here. We want it in here within the asset itself. So coming back to, I suppose, what Fergus introduced earlier, this is, I suppose, showing that rather than everything being a Word doc and you're trying to pick your way through that, we're showing you the right information at the right time, so that you're not getting bogged down in those. It's making it as easy as possible to fill out. These forms can be, very simple as you're seeing, or we can build up the level of complexities in here. So again, if you wanted, you have to say we need to capture more information around, deliverables within here. We can do that as well. I know also want to do two things. One is to start building up an estimate for this in terms of price. And what we see is was across the board in terms of building up this price, it's done in one of two ways. So one is at a rolling rates level. So I may say here, we need to do research on this. I will need a business analyst to come in on that. And again, what I'm looking for from business analyst is roughly 20 hours of work. And the timing here will become a lot more apparent as I move through the process. And may not even be asked for initially. This may even be at a later point, but what we're doing with the timing here is this allows you to scenario plan in terms of resourcing. So I'm saying I need a business analyst for 20 hours. I think their work is going to happen roughly in this period. And again, I can add as much as I want into here around, you know, I need initial concepts done, you know, senior designer is going to do that, and again, pick my dates within here for that work coming through. So this is the first, and I think one of the most common ways you'll see people building up estimates. The second is more of the, I suppose, shopping list approach, and this is where we have deliverables. So I need a digital banner done. I have one of those within there. It knows what cost to associate with these, but also on top of that, it knows what level of resourcing. So a digital banner takes these roles from these rates, these number of hours within here, and I can put again my dates for that capacity planning against these as well. So you can see this is starting to build up the overall estimate for this opportunity in terms of what I think this is going to cost. The second part of this is then around revenue forecasting, and of that estimate that I've built up, how much, when do I think this is going to come in? And I may start to say, you know, I think in June we may get 2,500, you know, in July it may be 5, you know, and again in August there may be 1,000 left. And it's starting to do that revenue forecasting. By putting this into digital briefs, this across all opportunities coming in is allowing to forecast that. What do our account managers, our project manager on the ground, what are they seeing? What do they think in terms of revenue that may come in within here? So that forward planning within here. So this is, I suppose, building it up in terms of what I want to submit through for review. So I've updated that opportunity, and I can do that as many times as I need to do. At some point, I may say, okay, I'm really happy with this. I need to get approval from finance, from leadership team, whoever it may be throughout the agency for this, and I want to send this for approval. So I can click on send for approval, say, you know, really excited about this, and hit send. And the second thing is, we've talked a lot about the reporting side of things within these forms. The information we're capturing in here as well can also impact where this is going. So in terms of your actual process, send it to the right person. So we've said this project type, for example, is branding. Well, then I know these are the people that need to see that. If I'd chosen social media, for example, it may have picked different people to send to. So as you can see, left-hand side, it's now updating with all of my form information that I'm capturing within there. On the right, we're awaiting heads of department review. Action's always been available to those who are assigned to a process here. I can, you know, perhaps update this, request revisions. So actually to go back to the, that could be clarifications, go back to the submitter saying, you've got this deliverable in here. We don't see where that's coming from. Can you clarify that? So all of your process being automated from that point of view. From here, the heads of department, and again, we can set the rules around who needs to approve this and how many, but we're going to be ultra positive on this call and move it on and approve this. So looks great, and it's moving on at this point, and we're looking at awaiting review from finance. So at all times, you know, that dashboard you saw at the beginning, it's updating with all of these statuses to show you exactly where's this opportunity at any point. As we move through, and this is, I suppose, a very typical example of how these processes run. And for example, at this point, finance can say, you know, happy with this. They may also have a job to update that job number. So all of those kind of little nuances in terms of the process can happen as you move through this. So moving this on from finance, they've approved this. We're now back. So we've now finance, heads of departments have approved this. It's back to your account manager, who is now going to say, okay, everything internally stacks up. I'm going to the client for approval on this. So they would go have their conversations with their clients. They may need to come back with revisions from the client and put these in, resend this through for approval, or, you know, hopefully everything goes well in terms of that conversation and they get approval and they can move this forward. So agreed.
Sean,
Yep.
just before you do that, cancel out of that and show people on the line if the account manager wants to generate a quick PDF version, perhaps, of this to send to the client. That people think.
Perfect. So bringing through maybe the key information you want to send to your client, you'd certainly want to send, what is the estimate within there. You may even want the brief information in there as well. So we can click on that. It'll preview it for me here within this, if it filled in the brief information all within here. And then I can save that as PDF or print it off, whatever I need to do to send to my client.
I think also to point out to people on the line is that you saw Sean doing a lot of clicking, and you may have thought, God, that seems a laborious process. But you got to remember that we're really shortening the pitch process here into 3 minutes, because an opportunity comes in, it'll be worked on for a number of days, weeks. It'll involve the heads of department for a number of days. It'll involve finance, etc. So these steps that we're now taking you through, we are actually only talking about different people clicking one button. It may seem like a lot of clicks here, but in reality, it's one action from the stakeholders that we're involving in this process. We're just simulating all the different stakeholders here. The other thing is that on the left, where we have the fields for opportunity assessment, revenue forecast, and the brief, these are not set in stone. Every agency we work with has their own peculiarity about a certain field that they need added, a certain field that they need removed. That's part of our daily life in working with clients, is adjusting these to get it exactly right for the methodology within that agency. So don't see the fields here as the fields that you need to take from us. Just look at it from, hey, I like 80% of that, but could I change 20% because we do it in this way? That's what we do. So just clarifying that. Okay, Sean, back to you.
Cool, thanks. That's perfect. Taking, I suppose, my final action from here to approve this, all is good, and we are, in terms of the client sign off, again, back to, I suppose, real life and every day. Some of that may be an upload into the form, with an email as an attachment or something written to say, yeah, look, we've got commitment from the client here. So that audit trail that you may need around this process can all be captured within the form as well. So we can see our status right now. It's with the account manager. They're waiting conversion to a live committed project at this stage. So again, I can approve this and convert this to a live project. These comments, and actually just briefly, you can see the comments I'm making are being tracked within this process here on the right hand side as well. So quite easy collaboration, within here, just to see exactly what have people said as they're taking their action. So quite a quick overview of the whole process. So everything we've done here on this screen. So I take my action and convert this to a committed process. Again, any comments I want to make, they can be mandatory. So certainly at points where you're asking for revisions, then that may be mandatory at that stage.
I think, Sean, what you're going to do now is where some of the magic happens, just to call it out. So the button there that Sean is clicking on, convert to a live project, that's going to pull in the brief. It's going to look at the brief. It's going to pick the right project process. It's going to pull in the estimate with the staffing plan and map that into the wider agency resource planning. And it's going to also, if you wanted to, we can roll out a Gantt chart and do many other things. So this is where real automation happens, and it's where you can really save time with your project management team. And it's also really where you can save time when you're onboarding new people. I just saw a survey not so long ago that it said that it takes an average of about 5 months to get a new agency employee productive, and that the total value of that, let's say, unproductive time is something, let's say, between the person leaving, person coming in, said it was something like 150% of their salary. So there's tons of efficiencies if you can help new people on board really, really quickly. Go ahead, Sean.
Cool. Perfect. So on our top navigation, we're going to move to the projects area. And again, what you're seeing here is these are our committed projects. We can see our webinar opportunity is pulled through here and created a project. You'll notice as well that the dashboard for these may have changed slightly. So as we move through into live projects, we can pull any more information that we want into those views. And I'll show you some different views as we move through here as well. This is the project that's been created. So what you're looking at here along the top, this can be all templated into Fergus's point. These kind of templates help everyone to fit into a way of working. You may have an IP way of working that you sell to your clients. This can be built into all of your projects. So moving through this one, for example, is strategy, development, QA, production, and delivery. Down the left-hand side, the tools to do your job. And I suppose some of the things to show very quickly here, we're now pulling through that automation side of things, which is, my digital banners within here, all of my individual line items, so assigned to each role, have come through. The timings are in here as well. This will all convert into, I suppose, a Gantt chart view as well, but also pulling through to your overall budget tab. So we've now set our estimate for our project within here. So what you're seeing in terms of this budget tab, and I'll jump to another project in a moment to show you this as well, as we've pulled that estimate figure through. Our forecast is going to change as your PM comes into the project and starts to actually resource against it. Well, then that forecast is going to show you what's resourced against this project, what's resourced to date, what's resourced in the future, and then also things around your burn, so your timesheets, so that your actuals coming in there as well. So a lot of information to come into this budget tab as well, giving you that breakdown by role within here. So kind of give you a view of how this looks, I suppose, in more of a live project. Our original estimate that we would have filled out here in this briefing form, just over $15,000. Currently to date, in terms of forecasting, and so that's actually people booked in to work on this, we're over $18,000, and our timesheets are saying that currently we're at $16,500. So it's giving you that overview across your project of where things stand. Also to note, actually, on this project, you can see the stage gates here very different than the top, so it can be very different from project to project. Even down the left-hand side, we can change the wording, what we put in there in each of these projects. So that's really where, I suppose, our unique selling point comes in, where we fit this system to how you work as an agency. Moving on from this, we've obviously created our project now, and we've brought in our tasks, our budgets, this side of things, and we now need to manage that project. And what I'm going to do is briefly just to show you, I suppose, how a different project can look. And these views, for example, we can look at these across, project progression, so those key milestones you saw at the top of the project, how far through those are we within here. So seeing different views of your projects to see where they are. Jumping into a project, and this one is certainly, I suppose, a lot heavier in terms of process along the top, quite a few stage gates. Again, down the left-hand side, the tools to do our job. This activity log it's tracking every touch in the project. So as we are making any changes within this project, it's tracking them. And this can do a number of things, such as if I've uploaded a file, if I've put annotations on that file within here, if I've taken part in an approval process, made comments, completed tasks. You'll see all that information there, who's doing it, when they did it, so it's all time stamped within there, so you're getting that full audit trail of your project. So again, if you've been missing from a project for a couple of days, you come back, this is going to give you a quick overview of what's been going on. That task list that gets built out, I suppose, can be, you know, quite simple as we did in our example, or, you know, it can build up in terms of complexity to, you know, have quite a number of tasks. I think agencies in general don't work to this level of detail, perhaps digital projects being the only exception. And this can be, you know, viewed in terms of a Gantt chart as well to see your overall project progress. This can all be exported out of the system. So as well as, you know, for client meetings, and you can filter down to your client only tasks as well. So perhaps you don't want to show the client a full 50 tasks that are going on. There may be 10 key tasks that they need to see in terms of timing. Filter down to those and export that out of the system.
Good.
Okay, as we move on from here, any of these tasks and the project that we built, you would have, they are also auto-assigned. So from your estimate, we said we needed a art director for 20 hours over a certain period. That's assigning that directly to somebody. This task, for example, I'm assigning it to Colin, and Colin's time I need, you know, I'm looking at 100% of his time. If I wanted to say, look, I think this is actually going to take less and I'm updating this to 50%, I can do that over that period. It's all based off each individual's FTE and working week. All this information, and I suppose the reason we're pulling all this through is for that overall capacity planning across the entire agency. So I'm jumping to our central resource planner, and what this is doing, and you know, you can move around in terms of dates, see anything you need to see within here. This is showing me from a top level across our agency, how busy is everyone, what's everyone working on in terms of capacity, how busy are we across here. So this is showing a 2-week view, for example. I can jump this out to see, you know, for the next month, what's going on within here. I'm going to pause a second and just describe a little bit of what you're seeing on the screen here. So at the very top of the screen, you've got your business analyst role, and this is requested resourcing. So again, your account managers, project managers have said, you know, we need business analysts over a certain time frame for a certain number of hours. And you can see these are all these shaded out ones. They're all in here in the queue awaiting to be resourced. Down below, you've got it's stacking it obviously in terms of roles here. So I can see all of my business analysts within here. This is the entire agency. And if I want to look at some different views as I'm in here, I can look at things like capacity in terms of percentage. So this is showing all of my people. If I want a nice, I suppose, compact agency view, I can look at this from a higher level again, so just from roles to say these are business analysts, these are project managers, our senior designers. This is how busy they are in the coming weeks. We can see very clearly where are the bottlenecks coming in terms of resourcing, where perhaps do we need freelancers or to move some work around. So again, you can see, you know, up over the reds, up over 100% in terms of what we're looking at for capacity. To find my resources as well, so to look for the right people to do a job, I need to be able to filter across these as well. So I can filter across things such as groups, roles, but also people's personal profiles. So expertise, I need someone, certain, you know, artwork, I need people from a certain location. So again, if you're multi-location, I can come and say, you know, I need people from, you know, from Australia, from Amsterdam, whatever it may be, and filter, click on any of these guys to filter down to that sector experience, as well as in here as an example. I think to point out, these are just examples. Expertise, location, and sector experience, that can be anything you want. I've seen it being put in here for clients, where people will update what clients people have worked with to be able to go in and filter down on that as well. So it's back to our agility in terms of being able to build a form to do what you need to do, and bringing that through across your system. So again, that's how you filter down to see, whatever resources you need for assigning, I suppose, and for anyone that is, I suppose, more. Let me have a look here at our designers. So if I filter down, I just want to look at my designers. I'm looking here to see what's queued against these guys. So I've got my 5 designers, and in terms of what's queued, I have this sitting here. Someone's looking for, some creative direction on this for the next 3 days. 100% of someone's time. The color coding you see here, green means somebody's 100% resourced, amber means they've got availability, and red obviously means that they're overbooked. Looking at this, nice and tidily, I can see that, Colin here, for example, has the availability to do this work. If I want to assign this to Colin, it's simply a case of dragging and dropping it to Colin, and that assigns it to him. Simple as that, and I can move that. It's not just up and down. I mean, if this needs to be delayed for a week, for 2 weeks, I can simply drag and move this out to wherever I need it to say, okay, I'm moving it to Laura, and it's being pushed out by 2 weeks. So very much, a lot of people mention, like a jigsaw, fitting things together on here on these views to do your assigning. This is doing a multitude of things in the background in terms of your project management and obviously notifying people that they are booked in. Your dashboard that we saw right at the start is being updated. So as we're moving these around, that's feeding through to people's dashboards to show them what's being done in terms of the resource management side of things.
Sean, I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up on given the time. So there's a couple of questions I've got for you.
Sure.
And what you still have to cover is working on content within a project, and a different view. For example, for the creative or the studio, they don't need necessarily to see all the project management stuff. So that's one. And then the final one you need to cover is reporting that the finance and the leadership would be doing. So to get rid of one of the questions, or get rid of it, to answer one that's come in, and there's 2 others that are related. Oh damn! One of them. Hold it. I've lost 2 of the questions. I hope I can remember them. One of them, anyway, was about integrations with ERP systems. That's what's very normal for us, especially in agency terms, is integrating with their finance system to get a job number, but also to get their time-tracked data. So we've integrated with many different systems, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, SAP or other. Typically, for those of you there, IT don't like a direct integration with their ERP, so it's about getting a feed of data out that we're able to suck in from a place that's secure. So that's the very typical integration for ERP data. Not a question about APIs that I'll take on now. Yes, we've got APIs. Can you push information to screen dragging? Yes, but we'd have to talk to you about your particular use case. And can we push information elsewhere? Yes, we can, but we can't get into the details there because we got to know what you've got in mind. The last one is about experience for different people. For example, like I called out, Sean, the creatives, but also clients. Can a client have a more limited view, perhaps? And I think what you'll probably say is that, hey, it could be like a creative. They could just have a dashboard of what they need to approve, what assets they're being shared with them for download or for markup. So maybe you can get on to working with content and that question.
Yeah, perfect. I think, I suppose following on from where we were, we've resourced our people and now we need to do the work. Within any project, you can have your key files stored in here. And again, we can have, folders built in. So for briefs, for concepts, whatever it may be, pre-built in to these guys. These assets can all be, open, and you can have your PDFs, your Adobe Suite, your Microsoft Suite. This is showing us what's more of a video file within here as well, and that we can add your annotations onto here as well. Good. So that's in terms of your file here, they can all be stored, annotated within here as well. So if I wanted to add an annotation to this, stop it to wherever I want, say that, look, here at this point, the milk is halved, within here, need to see that and save that onto it. Again, all of my annotations are saved at the side here. Who made it? In terms of video, it's saying where exactly in terms of time it is, and full versioning of your files in here as well. So if I was to click on this to say, it'll run it for me and pop it back up and show it on the asset itself. This is just a pop-up just around, I've made annotations. Do I want to notify anybody within the system about that? So that's storing your files, keeping them aligned within your project. This was the second part of this is in terms of doing your work is starting an approval process. I need to send assets for approval. And you can see here we different types of approvals perhaps, and this is quite complicated. It could be as simple as one approval process within here that I need to send. I've got a concept for review. I need this reviewed by, and again, quite important, say by the 4th of July within here, give a full description of this, upload the assets directly into the form that I want reviewed. So once I click on this, I can pick anything from my desktop on that, put that in here and the description to go with it. And if I have any supporting documentations to go with this, I can pick that as well, and then come in and pick my reviewers. So again, as I come in here, I can say Sean Wiseman is the person that I need to review this and submit that. It can be that easy. So you've seen, I suppose, the quite complex automated workflows. We can really bring them down to a level where you're in full control when you're starting these. Pick the people that you need to submit them to and submit your approval within here. So that'll send this on for me, and you can see we're now awaiting review. So your same UX within here. If I jump into this, again, your left-hand side will have your form. On the right-hand side, you can see it's automatically assigned to Sean. That's who I picked to send it to, and awaiting his input on this.
Great.
The second, I suppose, part of this then is for the creative teams in particular. I think I'm going to log out of the system and log back in as a different user, and I may just be a creative logging in here into the system. And what kind of view can I see? And this is configurable, but to give you an example of what it could look like for a creative, they're going to come in here. They're going to see, again, exactly what am I assigned to, what's booked in that resource planner for me, and what tasks and actions have I got to do. But again, on my top navigation, very quick and easy to see, assigned to me, open this up. I've got 3 jobs on my plate at the moment, and I can go and look at any of these. So this is my first approval. Open this up. I will see, concept approval, whatever description around this I need. The asset that I'm working on, I can open. I can see my annotations, download this. This will show you that kind of deep zoom ability that we have to go in and see, what information, and the annotations can be done at quite a granular level on these spec sheets, and then just take whatever actions I need to take on that. So as a creative, I can come in and say, yeah, look, I'm providing suggestions on this, or I'm marking it up, sending it back, take my action, and that's it. I'm done. So hopefully, I think it was Ericsson, and I hope that answers your question around different views coming in here. So again, if we can relate that to a client, very much as well, where a client would come in, you would only want to see the work that's assigned to them. Perhaps it's workflows like this, or a library view that you may have uploaded different assets in there for the view as well.
I think another point on that is often, certainly clients work with partners, for example, printing partners, production partners. They also want a place where they can easily access the system without seeing all the projects. So in the case of that assigned to me, we have that, but it's very much a, hey, there are assets here for you to download and for you to take into the printing process. We're going to make those automatically available to you at the end of our own internal approval workflow. And again, none of this is rigid. It can all be adapted to whatever business rules are set up that you have working well in your own organization. Sean, we got 5 minutes. The last one is, we've now had loads of data being fed into this system. How can we get out really good reports that will help us steer the business?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as was really going back to the start of this, we're looking at, you know, rather than having information in Word docs, we're now seeing the benefits of have them in a form. So I want to run a report, you know, I can set my date parameters around this, or any kind of parameters I need to see. This is looking at, you know, project budget reports, charts by clients, you know, and I can see what clients in terms of the income or projected income coming in, you know, and I get that in terms of a pie chart, all the information within here as well. This is all easy exportable out of the system as well, and these are all built up again based on whatever information you have in the system. These will work from that point of view. Cool. And this is just looking maybe more across those approval processes, you know, across the system. Where are they right now? You know, and if I'm looking at where are all my approval process, we're looking here, 19, you know, of these 60% of these have, you know, projects being created, how many are waiting review, how many have been cancelled, and you start to look at your duration around these as well. Where's the bottlenecks in terms of our processes, and that helps drive that efficiency overall as well.
And I think to appeal to the finance people who love Excels, maybe show one that integrates directly with an Excel and pulls in the finance data.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at this again, what we're looking at here is I'm picking an Excel sheet here just in terms of macros to run the information against. So once I run this report, it'll download directly to my desktop. I'll open this up and within this guy, we've got all of the raw data coming back. So let me just full screen this. So this is your raw data in terms of your report, your flighting. So just looking at how much is coming back here in terms of, you know, my monthly figures, income within here, and then fee by client by probability. So again, I'm breaking this down by my clients. Looking at probability, and this is just automatically bringing that information into your pivot charts, into Excel, and manipulating as you need.
So I think the key insight to take away from this is the inputs are the most important part of this. If you get your briefing forms right, your finance forms, your estimates, then we're able to slice and dice that data to give you the charts and give you the reports that you need. So there's a report builder behind all of this that you're able to create whatever sort of scheme of data that you want to report on, and then combine it with Excel if you want to. With that, Sean, I'm going to answer a few of the questions that are coming in, and that gets to the input. So there's a question here about fields. Fields in a workflow form, fields in a briefing form, in a project initiation form, and it's about customization of those and how easy it is. It's very, very easy. So the question is, does it cost extra? Is it part of the service? Well, in terms of the implementation, it's part of the service because you're new to it. But as part of that implementation, we want to train you to be able to make those changes yourself. And I would say that 90% of the changes are very, very easy for an average user. You don't have to have any IT knowledge. Sean may bring it up and kind of show the admin tools, of which there's lots of them. It just takes the sort of desire to manage the system and to invest the time in learning it. So all of these things here, managing attributes, creating forms, it's not difficult. It really is like building a survey monkey in a way. And then maybe Sean show a simple workflow to give an idea. Workflow demands a bit more training to get your head around business rules. Will suit some people, but you can see here what we built for this new business one. It goes to new business, then it goes to head of department, then it goes to finance, and behind each one of these steps, there's different business rules. So I hope that helps answer that one. The other question is, what is the pricing? Pricing consists of two parts. There's the SaaS, so the cloud, where we deliver the software, the hosting, the storage, and the maintenance. That's based on number of users. So please contact us and we'll give you the table for that. And then the other part is the implementation. And the implementation changes based on the briefing we get. So some agencies, really, really simple, very straightforward about how they want to operate and how they want to set up resourcing. Others have way more sophisticated needs, and therefore that just requires more time for us to align on how best to set up the system. And it differs greatly, also depending on often the size of the agency. So again, if I haven't covered any question, let me know. I've covered the API 1 pricing and the field customization. That's the last of the questions. Sean, have you got anything else to add?
No, I think good from my end. Thank you all for your time. And yeah, again, if you have any kind of further questions after this, do feel free to reach out, contact us directly. So I'm at Sean at screendragon.com and Fergus at fergus.screendragon.com. Happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, great, everybody. I think Sheila, our marketing support person here, will be recording this, so you will, let's say, be able to access it if you want to play back any part of it, because I know we covered a lot of things very, very quickly. And it's a lot to take in, going from the full end to end. So going from new business into project management, into creative workflows, working with the studio, then into resource management, and then into finance and leadership management and reports. That's a huge scope, but it's deliberate in our methodology, because we believe that it's really beneficial if you can hook it up end to end. And now we realize that many of you have time tracking systems and other systems, and that's where we're open to integrations. So we'll leave it there. Any other questions, just send them along. Thank you. Bye.